Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving into an absolutely wild automotive story that's going to blow your mind. Imagine this. In 1978, Germany, the birthplace of the iconic Volkswagen Beetle, decided to stop making it. The end of an era, right? A bittersweet farewell to a beloved classic, or so everyone thought. Because in Brazil, the Beetle wasn't just going anywhere. It kept going and going and going. For 40 more years after Germany said goodbye. Yes, you heard that right. The last new Volkswagen Beetle wasn't actually made in Germany at all, but in Mexico in 2003. But Brazil? They had their very own unique version of the Beetle, fondly known as the Fusca, cruising off the assembly lines all the way into the 1990s. So why did Brazil cling to this legendary bug long after its creators moved on? Get ready, because this is why Brazil simply couldn't let go of the Beetle. First, let's set the stage. In Germany, the Volkswagen Beetle had an incredible run. Production kicked off way back in 1938 and continued right up until 1978. Over that span, a staggering 21 million Beetles rolled off the German production lines, making it one of the best-selling cars of all time. It was a marvel of engineering for its time, a car that put millions of families on the road. But by the late 1970s, even legends have to evolve. The Beetle's design, while charming, was undeniably outdated. New safety regulations were emerging, and the world was clamoring for more modern, efficient vehicles. Volkswagen itself recognized this, and by 1974, they introduced its successor, the Golf, known as the Rabbit in North America. It was a front-engine, water-cooled hatchback revolution. So, with a modern replacement ready and changing consumer demands, Germany officially ended Beetle production in 1978, holding a quiet ceremony to mark the occasion. The world moved on. Or at least most of it did. Latin America, however, had other plans. Now, let's shift our focus to Brazil, where our story really takes an unexpected turn. The Beetle's journey in Brazil officially began in 1953 when Volkswagen opened its first factory in São Paulo. Soon after, the first Brazilian-made Beetle proudly rolled out, and it was love at first sight for the nation. Why did Brazil fall so hard for the bug? Well, it was a perfect storm of practicality and passion. Think about it. Brazil was a developing country with a rapidly growing middle class and infrastructure that was still catching up. The Beetle was tailor-made for this environment. Its mechanics were incredibly simple, easy to understand, easy to fix, even by roadside mechanics with basic tools. This was crucial in a country where sophisticated repair shops weren't always available. Then there was the air-cooled engine. No radiator, no water, no antifreeze. This was a godsend in Brazil's tropical climate, eliminating a whole host of cooling system problems that plagued water-cooled cars in high heat. And let's not forget the rear engine design. While it might seem quirky today, that weight over the rear wheels provided fantastic traction, making it surprisingly capable on Brazil's often unpaved or poorly maintained rural roads. Parts were everywhere. Mechanics across the country knew the Beetle inside and out, and crucially, it was affordable. It became the aspirational first car for millions of Brazilian families, symbolizing mobility and freedom. In fact, Brazil was so committed to the Beetle that they even started making their own improvements, sometimes even before Germany did. In 1959, Brazil made a major change by adding a larger rear window to the Beetle. This was a practical upgrade for better visibility, and interestingly, Germany didn't adopt this larger window until later models. Brazilian engineers were constantly tweaking and adapting the Beetle specifically for their local conditions. As the years went on, Brazilian engineers weren't content to just build the German Beetle. They started evolving it for their own needs. In 1968, they introduced bigger engines. While Germany was still largely sticking with the 1,200cc engine for its standard Beetles, Brazil introduced a 1,300cc, then a 1,500cc, and eventually even a 1,600cc engine. Why the bigger engines? Brazilian highways were getting better, and people needed more power for longer drives, and for carrying families and cargo. This meant more horsepower. The 1,600cc version, for example, offered a robust 65 horsepower, making it quite peppy for a Beetle. By the 1970s, Brazil was producing several unique Beetle versions that nobody else in the world got. You had the Fusca 1300, a reliable entry-level model with around 50 HP. Then came the Fusca 1500, a solid mid-range option at 52 HP, and for those wanting a bit more kick, the Fusca 1600 was the top of the line, packing 65 HP. These weren't just trim levels. They often featured specific local modifications tailored for the Brazilian market. But perhaps the most incredible example of Brazil's unique Beetle love was the Fusca Itamar. When production officially ended in Brazil in 1986, demand was still so high that in 1993, then-President Itamar Franco, a huge Beetle fan himself, personally requested Volkswagen to bring it back. And they did! From 1993 to 1996, the Fusca Itamar was produced. This wasn't just a re-release, it was a final evolution. It boasted a better interior, a more modern dashboard, and get this, an optional fuel injection system. It looked retro, yes, but it had 1990s technology tucked underneath, making it surprisingly efficient and reliable for its era. It was a beautiful blend of classic charm and modern practicality, a testament to Brazil's enduring affection for the bug. So, why did Brazil go to such extraordinary lengths to keep making the Beetle when Germany had moved on decades earlier? It wasn't just one reason. It was a powerful combination of economic, cultural, and practical factors that converged to create an automotive phenomenon. Economically, it was a no-brainer for Volkswagen do Brasil. The tooling for the Beetle had been paid for many times over. The workers knew the production process inside and out. The entire ecosystem of parts suppliers was deeply established and highly efficient. This made the Beetle incredibly cheap to produce. Even with lower sales volumes compared to its heyday, the profit margins were excellent. It was a cash cow that simply kept on giving. Culturally, the Beetle, or Fusca, was nothing short of a national icon. Just like the Mustang in America or the Mini in Britain, the Fusca was woven into the fabric of Brazilian society. It was often the first car for millions of families, marking milestones and creating countless memories. Taxi drivers swore by it for its reliability and low running costs. Even the police used them. You'd see Fuscas everywhere, in films, TV shows, and dominating the streets of every city and town. It was more than just a car. It was a member of the family, a symbol of Brazilian ingenuity and resilience. And practically, the reasons were just as compelling. Even in the 1990s, many rural areas in Brazil still had unpaved roads. The Beetle's robust, simple design, with its excellent ground clearance and strong rear-wheel traction, handled these conditions far better than many newer, more complex cars. Because it was so simple, literally anyone could repair it, often with basic tools and readily available parts, even in the smallest, most remote towns. And despite its age, the resale value of a Fusca remained incredibly strong. It held its value because everyone knew it, everyone loved it, and everyone could keep it running. Let's look at some numbers to truly appreciate the difference. Germany produced 21 million Beetles between 1938 and 1978. Brazil, on the other hand, produced over 3.3 million Beetles or Fuscas between 1959 and 1986. And then again from 1993 to 1996. That's a huge number for a single market, especially considering the country's population and economic situation during those decades. Mexico, famously, produced the very last original Beetle in 2003, but Brazil's story of innovation and cultural attachment is truly unique. The Volkswagen Beetle in Brazil is a testament to how a vehicle can transcend its original purpose and become something far greater, a cultural touchstone, a symbol of perseverance and a beloved part of a nation's identity. It's a reminder that sometimes the simplest and most enduring designs are the ones that truly capture our hearts and refuse to fade away. Thank you so much for joining me on this incredible journey into the heart of Brazil's Beetle passion. I hope you enjoyed learning about why this amazing car had such a long and storied life down south. If you loved this video, please hit that like button, share it with your friends, and don't forget to subscribe for more fascinating automotive history. Your support means the world to us. See you next time.